Coming to you live from deep within, actually, a not particularly icy radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right Keck apocalypse. Once more wading into battle against the hypocritical zombie hordes with Rantzerker number 198. Stop blaming feminism. Blame men instead. Because we haven't tried that before. I'm your host, Allison, and with me is Brian and Karen. And also, we have a JoJo, I believe.
Yes, we do. And I just got to arrange the...
Yep. And we have
both. We have both JoJo.
We have a Skeepy and a JoJo.
Cam, so it's like a Dogeception kind of thing.
Yeah. We got the relaxed dojo, or the relaxed doge, and the less relaxed doge. Doggo.
Yeah, JoJo's good and tired because we were out. We went out walking and he got to play with his friends.
Ooh.
So he's good and tired.
Well, I mean, we're only on the first half hour of the process of draining the dog down to the point where he's relaxed. Although I should have brought some catnip because apparently he got into the catnip yesterday.
Oh.
And he had he had a completely chill day yesterday.
Oh.
Like he was just like he's on the couch. A dog walks past the house. You know, you can see it through the window, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll let that one.
That's okay.
It's okay.
I can live with that.
I don't feel like getting up."
Oh, can dogs actually have catnip? It's not toxic to them or anything?
No, it's not toxic to them, but it has the opposite effect on dogs. For dogs,
so it's like cocaine for cats, and it's like reefer for dogs.
Yeah.
Who the hell says reefer anymore?
I do. Thank you, Brian.
It's grass.
I never called it grass. That was my dad's generation. Thank you very much.
That's funny.
But he's a pretty cute doggo. We had a bit of excitement in the I don't want to say homestead because it really isn't, but apparently a neighbor lost their dog and they were running through our yard trying to capture their dog. It was like some kind of white mix. Apparently they went to a nearby town to get it from an SPCA. So it hadn't actually bonded to them yet. But it was sort of amusing.
Oh, yeah, no, I helped someone catch his Great Dane once.
Oh.
He had like a 7-month-old Great Dane, so about up to like my mid-rib cage at the shoulder. And he's like chasing this dog. The dog's just like running loose, right? And he's chasing it, and when he chases it, the dog runs away, and then when he stops, the dog turns and comes back. It's just a game. It's a game. It's a game of stay away, right? Of keep away, right? So I finally went out with a dentist stick in my bare feet and walked out onto the road, and I was like, "Hey, puppy!" And I hold it out, and this dog, just the size of a horse, comes barreling at me, right? And the owner is yelling, "He's not vicious! He's not vicious!" And I'm like, "I know," and I hold out this dentist stick, and the dog blows past me, because that's what they like to do. They like to blow past you. See, you didn't get me even then. And then he comes back around. He's like, he grabs the dentist stick. I grab his collar, and I'm like, "You're welcome." It's like, as long as it's not his owner rewarding him with food for running away.
Yeah. We've had some interesting adventures, but I didn't manage to help them catch it. But I did give them a liver treat. And I'm like, the dogs love this. Good luck. Take this. Yeah. Hopefully you can bait the dog. And I feel like okay, all right. So once again, we are doing our monthly fundraiser. So that is at feedthebadger.com/support. We have only about $80 left, but I am going to try to do a sub goal so we can maybe get a little bit more for Brian this month. Just as a thank you for surviving and making HBR better. And also because I hear that Brian wants to get a computer for Lindsay so she can play along with him with Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's. Alders.
Yeah,
Oh,
we-
Badgers?
No, I'm calling it
Yeah.
Badger's Gate because
Badger's
I've
Gate
made
3.
all of the badgers in the game.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to be able to help him out with that. So let's finish that $80 off, and then I'll put on maybe like another $500 and see if we can get that. And whatever we do get, will go to Brian. So $80, and then we'll start working on that additional amount. All right? Sound good? Go do it. feedthebadger.com/support. And if you would like to send us a message, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And yeah, we will read it and we will ponder your wisdoms. Okay.
Okay. I did get a super. We did get a
What
super
were you going to
chow.
say, Karen, or are you just clearing your throat?
I was going to say your wisdoms that are just the tip.
Mhm. Just give us just the tip of your wisdom.
That's what she said.
Just the tip of the talking stick. Okay.
Anyway,
Sit down. There we go.
So we got a super chow.
Yeah,
while
it
was this morning or earlier today from an anonymous person, and they gave us $500.
Wow.
So
wow.
I don't know if that was put towards the fundraiser or the support, but not sure.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, an anonymous user.
Yep. And we have a super chat just now. I just thought I'd read it before we get into the video from Senior Sticks, who gives us $2 and says, "The artificial womb gets built. Will feminists march?"
Oh, they'll freak out. They'll freak the fuck out. But the only reason they'll freak out is because they're too stupid to realize that the artificial womb won't. The only thing that the artificial womb could possibly change is if there was some way to take to remove a growing fetus from a woman and stick it in one, and if men had the right, if biological fathers had the right to demand that be done. That's the only change that there would be, is if those things happened. Like, I can't see, like, they're going to be freaking out, oh my god, our monopoly over procreate. Like, nobody's going to be using artificial
Some of them are freaking
womb.
out about surrogacy right now.
Yeah,
Like
well, surrogacy is one thing, and it's still, like, really, really minor. And it's mostly used by couples who can't conceive or carry a baby to term. Yeah, gay couples too, yeah, increasingly. But, you're looking at a situation where it's like, no, okay, so they're going to freak out, but, like, does sperm donation really have a major impact on family formation and all of those things? Like, I don't think it does. I don't think it had any kind of huge impact on society, and neither will artificial wombs. So,
yeah, I think that they're actually, like, prone to, in my opinion, they're not super reliable. So I just hope that people who are thinking about doing that are aware of the risks, because if you really want kids and you think that artificial wombs are just a guarantee, you should definitely check again, because you might miss out on every opportunity if you're not careful, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's like, honestly, I can't see the technology advancing to the point where you could make a comparable child, gestate a comparable child in an artificial womb that's both viable and is going to have a healthy future, right? Like, I just don't see it, because there's so much that goes into building a baby that includes, like, minute changes, minute alterations in titration of various things from the mother's body. And it's like, one thing, if the baby's needs are even slightly, like, not standard at the exact time that they would, you're going to be looking at problems. So so I don't know. I just think it's just way too complicated. I mean, we can't even model a microfluidic system to grow cells right now.
No.
by a computer.
There's a lot
model,
of talk
right?
about stuff, but I don't think it's nearly as reliable as
Well, it's not
scientists claim.
viable. It's not viable anytime soon. I mean, like,
No, I don't think so.
They've built a goat that way.
My
but
faith in science has diminished quite a bit. But let's especially
well, they do make
years.
grandiose claims, and then they're like, "Oops, we done fucked up." So,
all right. Well, let's get into the video, I guess. All right.
Yes.
Allison, are you ready? I know that you're muted because you're playing with the dog, but I think we're gonna do the thing that we're here to do. So I'm gonna switch it over.
Listening.
Let me turn JoJo's camera back on.
Wait,
and
go back.
I think I have a
good job.
cam here.
Perfect framing. We're
What?
done for now. I'm talking to the doggo. You see? He's well framed.
Yeah, I see it.
Well, for now.
Yeah. Well, he'll sit there. He'll wait. He'll wait for me to engage him. Well, this is just the first half hour of working on getting his energy down.
Well,
So that
there
he's only jumping off the walls instead of also hovering on the ceiling. Okay, Sita. Good job. Hold that sit. All right, let's do this. Let's see it.
Hold on. I'm gonna hit play in a second here. I just need to trying to get the camera the right size. And that takes a little work. You guys don't need to see that woman's face, do you? I'll move it down here. Okay. All right, let's play more of this. So this is, let me see, as a reminder, this is Maria MacLachlan, and she is a feminist. My guess is second wave because her experience is in the 60s, and she is refuting the claim that the transgender, queer theory, oriented movements of modern feminism in any way is actually rooted in feminism, or feminism is to blame. She blames postmodernism, which apparently she thinks is completely different and separate from feminism, and she is going to explain that why it is wrong to assume that feminism is a monolith, because these are things we've never heard before, and that that feminists are not to blame for women essentially, like, you know, losing access to bathrooms and sports or something. Okay, let's continue the video.
I just want to clarify something. So she does not blame men, just postmodernism.
No, I think that's I think the blame will land on men too.
Oh, hey, maybe she'll surprise us. Maybe the blame will land on AI. Who knows? Let's find out.
No, not yet. We haven't. AI is not quite sophisticated enough to blame on everything yet. Although people are starting to blame AI for things. All right. Well, let's play some more.
And another thing that's wrong is assuming that it's not just feminists, but radical feminists that are the ones primarily responsible for transgenderism. Here is a comment on one of my videos. I do hold the belief.
She's okay. So she's reading a comment she got on one of her videos that starts with, "I don't agree with that David Young person, but I do hold the belief that it is all women's fault." So let's play that. She might not read the whole comment. I think she just reads part of it and responds to it. So if you want to read the whole comment, maybe it's okay.
That it is all women's fault. Yeah, of course you do. You're a man. Women, specifically radical feminist women, determined that trans women are the same as what humanity considered a woman, and they pushed the rest of society to accept that belief and codify it into laws, especially where it affects women-only spaces.
Good Lord, I hate this woman.
Yeah, no, but they didn't.
Oh my God! But can I just want to say that this woman is wretched. Oh, of course you blame men. You're a man, or blame women. You're a man. Okay, I'm blaming women. Well, not women, because I think the average woman is blissfully average and blissfully ignorant of what feminists did. We blame feminism. So, like, he is specifying. He's not blaming women. He's blaming radical feminist women. I think that he's incorrect in how he's coming to blame them, but he is absolutely 100% accurate. And it's not just radical feminist women. I think it's all feminist women. It's every feminist woman who appealed to oppression rather than biology to explain the sex roles throughout history. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, no, but she is right. The radical feminists, right? The Catherine McKinnons and the Andrea Dworkins and the Julie Bindels, right? The radicals of the second wave, right? They actually weren't really big on the whole transgender thing. They were like female separatists, right? So they were very based in, the biological experience of being female, in terms of viewing the reproductive role as oppressive and all of that. But once you start to really, so I don't think that this is what they had in mind when they were doing all of that analysis during the second wave. I don't think transgender women in women's bathrooms and women's sports was anything like what they had, or gender bending or anything like that. I think that was much more of a hippie thing, and but they did kind of see they did kind of seize on, say John Money and his work, right, as proof that men and women intellectually and psychologically were not different. So again, it was a matter of they believed that men and women could be the same from the neck up, or from the neck down, from the neck up, and completely different from the neck down, and that, so there should be no disparities in choices and preferences and talents and aptitudes and things like that. Right. And so they lit the spark, they lit the fire that got out of control in subsequent waves.
Okay, so essentially, from what I remember, in addition to that, they also alleged that femaleness or femininity or the female role was something that was applied by society onto women.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that you had to have kids, that you had to be a mother and stay at home, that you had to do.
Also that you had to be feminine.
Yeah.
That you had to have feminine qualities. It wasn't just being a mother. It wasn't just a practical role. It was also an effect. Like you had to behave in a certain way. You had to, and they still do that. It's like, oh, women are taught to keep their legs closed and not spread like men. Women are taught to concede space to men. So there's mansplaining and manslamming. You remember all that?
Manslamming, manspreading.
Yeah, and also mansplaining, which is women are expected to listen to men as authoritative sources, and all of that other stuff. All of that stuff, every single man portmanteau is basically the negative space around what feminists say women are expected to act. You see what I'm getting at? So they're saying that there's this entire corpus of behavior that women are expected to engage in. That I remember this. This was less than 5 years ago. There was the height of all of the ways that women were expected to be small in order to occupy their particular gender role, and this was inflicted upon them by men and patriarchy. So women's role and femininity, not their role, but their femininity, their presentation of their gender, is itself a social construct. Okay? Mm-hmm. It is divorced from the biological reality of women. This is what you guys were saying. This is what the average feminist was saying 5 years ago, and it's inflicted on women in order to make them subservient to men in various increasingly thin, what's the right word for it?
Trivial,
meaningless ways, okay? But the entire construct of that is these women are behaving in this way because it's being inflicted on them by a patriarchy, right?
Well, it's like the beauty myth, right? That, like that Naomi Wolf book, right? Where it's like, she says basically, oh, well, just when women were starting to demand rights and get, make some headway, right? That's when all of this, they started to the corporate masters, the patriarchal corporate masters started bombarding women with this idea that they wanted to be beautiful, like tried to brainwash them into wanting to be beautiful, to give them a distraction from the fight for rights. And it's just like, no. And that's really rich coming from a woman who can't walk past a piece of glass without looking and teasing her hair back into place.
Okay. Yes. But but you remember all of this. And it was used to get, I don't know, all kinds of bizarre concessions from men. And to even just to inflict this kind of self-righteous, this kind of moral subservience from men, so to try to elicit moral subservience from men. But this whole dialogue, it was thick in the airwaves, like 5 years ago, about how the female role is inflicted upon them which means that the female role is entirely social. There's no biological element to it, and it's inflicted on women. Okay, you guys embrace that when you can use that to your own ends. But now that there's a group of people who are saying, well, I mean, if it's social, then why can't we occupy it? Even if it isn't a situation where our brains actually are biologically different than normal men, so we do have a center that makes us feel like we are a woman and we're in the incorrect body. Even if we don't, why can't we just occupy the social role of women? And you have no answer to that. Yeah. Honestly, you have none whatsoever. You set the stage. If men want to not only apparently inflict the social role of being subservient on women, but also occupy it, what are you to say? I mean, after all, you set that entire framework up as a feminist, and don't give me this shit about, there are multiple feminisms. I had somebody in the comments of the previous one say, but actually there are multiple physics. I'm like,
yeah,
no.
Okay.
Not like this.
Not like this. Yeah, no. Well, they are like this because they're still based in the same root freaking assumptions. The same, gravity exists and, particles exist. And
every branch of physics has its conjecture, its hypotheses, which have been tested and found valid in terms of having a predictive quality to them. Like they can predict stuff, and they have become theories, or in some cases laws, right? They all have that. They all share in common the fact that, I mean, if you were a physics student and you wanted to test, I don't know, a causal relationship, like you had a formula and you were going to like, okay, does this predict reality, right? And instead you said, well, and you're in front of your peer review, and they said, well, okay, well, what are we testing? And you're like, well, there are multiple physics, so why don't we find the results, and then I'll tell you.
Yeah,
it was that we were testing. No, but that isn't how it works.
Yeah, no, it's so ridiculous too, because it seems like so much of feminist theory, right? In terms of like, feminist conjectures about why things are the way they are, why men and women are the way they are, right? Is just an avoidance of looking at biology, right? So, women are more afraid than men when walking alone at night. Okay, well, their assumption is that it's because women are more in danger, and they will look for data that supports that women are objectively more at peril walking alone at night. And when you show them data that proves the opposite, their heads go all explodey, right? And they won't look at it. They won't even acknowledge it, right? But it's because they don't want to look at maybe it's your hormones. You can show them proof.
Maybe
right?
it's your risk tolerance. Maybe it's the fact that men have higher risk tolerance.
Yeah, maybe it's and maybe that risk tolerance is partially, right, dictated by your hormone levels. And you can actually show them proof of this, right? And they won't accept it. Proof that when women take, because they've tried this, give women a little bit of extra testosterone or a little bit of extra androgen, right? To increase their libido, right? Low libido women, they want to feel sexual, so we'll give them a little bit of androgen. And, what are the results? Greater degree of body confidence, right? Confidence in their ability to handle situations, right? A lower level of apprehension around everything. And then, what else? Higher libido, of course. And what else?
Fairness.
They greater fairness in bargaining. What else? They no longer care as much what they look like. They don't care about being pretty. So on the one hand, they're more sexual and more libidinous, right? And on the other hand, they aren't, wearing the push-up bras and putting on layers of makeup and, and taking huge amounts of care in making themselves attractive, right? Even though they have higher body confidence, they actually feel more attractive, even though, like, objectively you could say they aren't, because they're not really putting any effort into looking more attractive than they are, right? So it's just like, okay, so all of this, well, okay, so you're describing a man.
Yeah, but no, that you have to have it. It had to be social. The reason why women it had to be social, and the reason why it had to be social is because otherwise you have a huge and honestly, you know what? It's really hard to frame this because let's be frank, feminism has no basis. Period. Like it's never been proven. Like their essential conjectures have never been proven. This idea that it's social, not biological, not been proven. In fact, the reverse. This idea that there's a causal relationship between men in power and women oppressed, also not proven. So everything that feminists assert about reality and about explaining reality, it hasn't been proven. It's not even wrong because
it's the opposite of right. It's like 108. It's actually more than 180 degrees the opposite of right.
Because it's never even been presented in a way that it could be wrong. So it's like it is a non-falsifiable concept. It's completely like I can't emphasize this enough, and that's why it makes it so tricky to talk about it. Like you talk about falsifying this stuff, well, but it's never been proven true, so how can it be falsified, right? It's nonsense. It's pure unadulterated nonsense. It's an embarrassment, and the fact that it exists should be reason enough to question almost all of academia. Like at this point, the fact that they allowed this to happen, this gigantic boobo to appear on the ass of academia, it means that you gotta wonder about their entire immunological system, in the entirety of every single place where this is propped up. You got some underlying immune issues if you got the gigantic cyst of feminism on your ass, right? Okay. So this shouldn't just be like, oh, feminism is discredited. The existence of feminism should make us seriously scratch our heads about academia as a whole, because this is absolute intellectual corruption. And like I said, that the whole idea that they are not responsible for not only advancing the notion that all of these phenomena, all these social phenomena, sorry, I'm moving my microphone hopefully to make my voice sound better. All of these social phenomena, all of these differences between men and women, not only did it advance this idea that it was social, not biological, because once you allow for biology, you realize, you look back in history and you're like, well, actually, women probably were constrained by the process of child rearing, birth, gestation, lactation, early childhood. Yeah, they might have been constrained into their roles, not because men were horrible, but in fact because men function as a means to maintain the roles of women. So it's not that men forced women into those roles. It's that these are the roles that women have to occupy due to biological factors, and men serve as supplementary to those roles. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, it's called supporting your wife. Like,
yeah, it's the termite queen isn't there because she's being oppressed by the workers. She's allowed to exist because the workers serve her. Okay, like, it's actually really like, and if you acknowledge that, I think pretty much all of feminism's moral framework disappears.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, like, women weren't allowed to go in shark-infested waters to go get resources so that they could nurse their children. Well, yes, they weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah, well, because they couldn't leave their children long enough to actually go do that, and they couldn't bring their kids with them without their kids getting eaten by sharks. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
are you retarded?
Yes, women were restricted. Yes, they were restricted because these societies wanted to continue to exist.
Yeah, no, it's like I told the New York State Libertarian Convention, right? Like, they want you to believe that if not for men, for the oppression of men, women, cave women, would have been bravely hunting mastodon with babies strapped to their breasts. If only men and patriarchy hadn't held them down and kept them from doing that. Right? And it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah. And the thing is,
literally not how it happened.
Every limitation that I've seen legally in law and socially that women are subject to become a man's obligation to them.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So, for example, in Milan, I believe it was Milan. I could be getting my Renaissance Italian cities wrong. In Milan, women were expected to take care of the home. All right. And at the time, the home was a unit of production. So it actually is not quite like what we think it is. It's like women were
small business.
Yeah. Women were, well, not at the time, the productive unit of the home, depending on what kind of home you had, could be the largest business in the community. So, basically what that means is women were reduced to the role of factory overseer.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. All right. So they were expected to, but men totally 100% occupied the roles of politics and commerce. And of course, this was a time where they were just reestablishing a lot of like the really long trade routes. So it was quite dangerous. Like, merchants died because, the caravans would be raided, that kind of thing. All right. So that's what men did. And they had to go out and earn their fortune. But guess what? Guess who they were obligated to give it to? In Milan, when a woman became of marriageable age, by the time that she became of marriageable age, by law, her father had to have put away a retirement fund for her. It's sort of like a dowry, except it's 100% goes to her when she becomes a widow, right? Yeah. So in Milan, there were these series of obligations placed on men. Men were given much more access to the economy, even though in many ways it was very dangerous. And they were given much more freedom in the economy and politically. But on the other hand, they were obligated to the women in their lives much more. Uh-huh. So there was this expectation that women would have this, so at the age of 16, a girl could be reasonably expected to be able to retire as a widow with a significant pension, because by law, her father would have had to pay into it. And she could be expected to have a very, very respected job for the rest of her life until her son's wife took over. Right? Yeah. Okay? So the situation is, yes, Milan was very male dominated. Women were very well provided for.
Yeah.
And in fact, when the women, and it was the women in particular, got it in their head to start following a guy. I'm terrible with names, but he was like a prophetic doomsday preacher, and he's like, repent of all of your sins, remove your material wealth, get rid of every. And then the Milanese were like, oh wow, that's really cool. Let's wear sackcloth and beat ourselves with flails and totally destroy our economy. And what ended up happening, and it was women who embraced this whole incredible display of piety and suffering, and the guy was like, yeah, we're going to bring about the end of the world in Milan, and he almost did it. And everybody was actually like, wait, what? Really? We didn't mean the end of the world like that. And what happened was the economy got so bad that there was a bread riot in which one woman killed another woman, and the men were like, no more, and they chased him out. I believe they chased him out, and then they tried to reassert all of the protections towards women so that they wouldn't end up in poverty, make sure that they have a job, make sure they have pensions. And it was because this system, even though in many cases it was driven by the piety of women embracing this charismatic doomsday preacher, the system was starting to break down, that it started to threaten their daughters and their wives.
Yeah,
and then
threaten women.
And this is a patriarchal culture. So this is what I mean by feminism has not established a causal relationship between men in charge and women oppressed. Because what I have seen throughout history is when men are in charge, they take even a greater role in making sure that women are protected and provided for.
Yeah.
Right? They don't use their power and their influence and their resources to leave their women folk in the cold. They, in fact, use those resources to benefit them and to make themselves obligated to their needs. Okay? So this whole idea that feminists have constructed, and this is, I would say, even though they apparently, despite being an aspersion to being what's the right word? Pretending to be a science, even though they won't establish their central conjectures, their foundational beliefs about causality, which, I'm pretty sure you can't go into a physics department and everybody's like, yeah, I don't know what we believe. Who knows? I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen. Okay? Yeah. We know what they're asserting about reality. Even though feminists will not pin themselves down to that, despite being presented as some kind of scientific fact, even though they won't, from my examination of all of the various activities, I would say that their central conjecture is that men in power equal women oppressed. And yet that has never been proven. Ever. It hasn't even been put forth as falsifiable.
There you go.
All right. But continue with your bad self and telling us all how you're not to blame for the shit that's happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to comment that.
I do have thank yous, by the way.
Yeah, I got Bane666AU is in the chat, and he's saying, "From the future, Happy New Year."
Oh.
From the future and the upside down. The upside down future. So thank you, Bane.
Well,
how does 2024 look so far? Probably about a lot like 2023 did.
In the year 2000.
In the year. Okay.
2000.
Allison, you have some
no, I think
thank
we
yous?
something else. In the year 20.
In the year 2525. If man is still alive.
Yeah,
if woman can survive, they may find. There's more. I don't want to sing the whole thing, but
yeah, no, it's nothing. It's you haven't heard that song?
I've heard the original by Zager and Evans.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have heard it. Honestly, sometimes when people sing stuff, it just doesn't come across.
Let me get the things done. Let me get the sorry to interrupt. All right, I'm going to do some thank yous. You know what? I'm not really that sorry. I'm just interrupting Karen.
Do the thank yous.
All right, so we did finish our monthly fundraiser, so I did put the additional amount on.
Wow.
So hopefully we'll get that as well. And so I want to thank Meredith G for $100. Thank you, Meredith G.
Thank you, Meredith G.
Thank you. Come again.
And she put the sort of the final thing on there.
Meredith is a real G.
She got us over the mark.
She's a top G.
Got us over the mark. All right. So and then Richard Bier gave us $75. Thank you, Richard Bier.
Thank you, Richard.
And his name is John C.
Okay, and then I'm gonna say, I don't know if I want to say the name. Okay, so I'm gonna say Tobin.
Give the initials.
I think Tobin's safe.
Toby
So
Maguire gave
Toby Maguire gives us $25
because he was going to give us 500, but Mr. Ditkovich needed the rent, so we just got 25. That's a inside joke, sort of.
Yeah.
You watch Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, Spider-Man joke.
Yeah.
Oh goodness! No, I gotta figure out what's going on with this amount because we just got $50 in, but I don't think it went to the fundraiser. Let me just check. Oh, it went to Super Chow. Okay. So
Oh yeah, I have a super chow. I was gonna read it after you're done with the thank yous.
Okay. So just tell him, are you wanting me to put the $50 to the fundraiser? Because you put it through Super Chow. So just give us a heads up on that. You can just send me a message because I know who you are and we talk regularly in the Discord. Don't necessarily have to. Just send me a message if you want that. I think I can divert it to the fundraiser if you would like. Anyway, so thank you for that. And you can read the Super Chow, Brian.
All
wait.
right.
Let me do the things.
Okay.
If you would like to help out, we still have about $430 on the final sub goal. That is to assist Brian in getting the funds together. Well, just a bonus for Brian. I think he deserves it, but I hear tell that he wants to get something together so Lindsay can play Badger's Gate with him, which he doesn't have to spend it on that, but
he definitely deserves it for having to put up with us. So.
Okay, so if you would like to finish that off, it's at feedthebadger.com/support. And if you just want to send a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Please don't mix those up because it can be a little bit tricky for me to apply funds from one to the other. So if you really want to support, go to feedthebadger.com/support. And you can always just pay the minimum if you want to send us a message. Okay.
All right.
Well,
I got a super chow from Telumnar for $50, and he says, Dear Brian, I have long admired your ability to herd these most unherdable women in the general direction of a functional show. Your role as the pickle in this clam...
I was just going to say, Brian doesn't own any cats, but he's stuck herding some. Yeah.
Your role as the pickle in this clam jar cannot be undervalued, for without you, we would be stuck with one of the three primary badgers endlessly waffling on about her preferred topic of the day, while the chat tried desperately to tell her she forgot to unmute, or if starting a Beat Saber stream that she forgot to share her screen. Thank you for your long and selfless service in this cause. I, for one, appreciate it. Happy New Year. Well, thank you, Telumnar. And yes, that's all I'll say.
I won't say it's a thankless task because you just got thanked.
I did get thanked.
But
I wouldn't.
But it is a Sisyphean task.
All right.
Okay.
So let's continue the video.
It was a lot of fun. The X. Do you remember the Twitter Spaces we did? How could you forget it?
Me?
Oh my God.
What about
the
it?
Twitter? Yes. Remember we did the Twitter Spaces?
I do remember that, but I mean, of course I remember.
Yeah, that was a lot of herding cats. Well, mostly.
Yeah, but I mean, in the beginning there was some issues with it, but once it got going, the only issue was the. Actually, there wasn't really an issue. I mean, we disagreed with some people, but what are you gonna do? I was expecting.
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean, I yelled at them. Some people were like,
"Well, you did." Yeah, but I mean, dealing with talking points from like 2014.
Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah. Well, have you tried being a man enough yet? Have you tried that? Have you considered being a man?
Oh God.
Anyway.
I've invited him back on. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he's a lot of fun.
I think he's just trying.
He's a good sport. He's a good sport. The other dude who was like, it was a little bit more confusing. Remember, he was like, "Well, you gotta men's groups have to serve family annihilators, like men who kill their families." I'm like,
Oh, right. I
Do you
know.
remember that? I was
know.
like,
It's
I think
weird.
they're
It's like let me
served by
bring
Pokemon.
up the most fringe extreme case of
Yeah.
men behaving badly and say that these are the people you're defending. It's like,
No,
what?
what? I don't think he was saying we were defending. He was saying that we need to serve those people. And
Well,
it's
no,
like,
I think he's saying that if you follow your ideology to its logical conclusion, you have to defend these men.
Well, no,
really?
you don't have. Okay, okay. There is a difference between defending and explaining. Okay, there is a difference between defending and feeling empathy. Right? I can feel empathy for a woman who strangles her freaking baby, her newborn baby, like a 17-year-old girl who strangles her newborn baby with a pair of thong panties and throws it over the fence into the neighbor's yard, right? I can, she was obviously in a really bad place when she did that. I can feel some empathy for her. I can feel empathy for just about anybody, right? Asking, what drove somebody to do that is not necessarily defending what they did and saying that maybe we should try to eliminate the kinds of things that drive people to act out in those ways, right, is not defending their actions. It's trying to prevent them.
Well,
right?
yeah, for sure.
That's
Anyway, we're in the weeds. We should play some more of the video. People are getting angry.
Yeah.
All right.
We've only watched like a little bit, so it's been like 50 minutes. So let's play some more of this.
I don't know what country this bloke is talking about, but that hasn't happened here in the UK. But the main point I want to make here is that there is a widespread misunderstanding of what radical feminism is. In fact, those who define themselves as radical feminists, and I'm not one of them, by the way, but those who call themselves radfems are more likely to see transgenderism as the consequence of the pernicious ideology rooted in misogyny and homophobia that it is.
oh, good Lord. Good. Oh, she hit it. Homophobia. What? Okay. All right. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, no, it is. It's understandable, and I have heard this from certain people, right, who have done research into this, right, that including Deborah So, right, who takes an evolutionary psychology approach to it, that a lot of these girls who are being roped into transgenderism, right, they're just gay. They're just gay and maybe autistic and have some problems getting along socially with other girls, right? And so they have some mental problems and they're gay. And they've been presented with a list of options, which is be bullied for being a lesbo, right? Or, and maybe your parents won't like you because you're a lesbian. Or maybe you're actually really a boy, and that's why you don't get along with other girls so well. That's why you don't fit in socially. That's why you're attracted to girls, right? And all of that. And so I do think that there is a certain amount of homophobia driving this. And I don't think that it's misogyny driving it. I think that the pervasive perception that society is horrifically misogynistic is part of what's driving it, right? So the feminist narrative about how everything is misogynistic is part of what's driving it. And when I say that, I'm talking about these recently transitioned trans men, right? And what's one of the first things that they say was a big surprise to them, right? A huge surprise to them is that people started treating them like shit. When they started presenting as male, People weren't polite anymore. Nobody offered to help them when they needed help, when they dropped something and needed help picking it up or anything like that. Nobody offered to help them when they were in trouble, right? They were on their own. People were scared of them, right? They crossed the street, when they saw them come in, all of those things, right? It's lonely. Nobody ever wants to talk to you about your problems, right? All of those things. It's like, all of a sudden, society just closes off. This is one of the things Nora, what's her name? Nora Vincent, yes.
Nora Vincent. Okay.
Yeah, that she discovered that like being a man is lonely, and it's not necessarily that she didn't find camaraderie among other men, right? It's just that she was a lesbian woman. Okay, a masculine lesbian woman, but she was used to communicating on a level and having an openness and an intimacy and an approachableness around other people. Being able to approach someone and touch them on their shoulder and not be seen as a threat. All of those things. She didn't have that when she was out as a man, when she was walking around as a man.
Having people aggress against you and being considered wrong. Like this is what this woman, how about being able to blame men and not getting your face punched in?
Yeah. So what she's describing a misogynistic society that doesn't actually exist. And a lot of these trans men are like completely shocked because they were promised male privilege. They were promised everything would be just easy. You're playing life on easy mode, right? Once you're a man, once you can present as a man, you'll be playing life on easy mode, and life just gets harder. It just gets harder for them.
Yeah, and conversely, it gets easier for trans women, which is why everybody's focused on trans women stealing privilege.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Theron Meyer told me. She said, like, I would walk around when I was presenting as male. Nobody would ever, and nobody in public, no strangers would ever tell me I look nice or, like offer to help me or, hold the door open for me or whatever. Like, it was just like, it was just, they just didn't even want to interact with me. If they didn't know me, they didn't want to interact. Right. And then, I come out presenting and she does present very attractively. Right. And convincingly. And she's like, and all of a sudden I get all this positive attention. And it's like, it was a completely new experience for me. It was like night and day. And
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. People were kind. People were generous, and it's like people were more polite to me, even in situations where, you have to actually interact, like at the cash register and stuff. People were more friendly. She was just like, it was completely different.
Yep. And that is a privilege. And it's a privilege that women are completely freaking unaware of, that they are treated with a certain amount of deference and respect already.
And friendliness and warmth.
And friendliness and a lack of suspicion.
Yep.
Already. Okay, but basically what she's trying to do here, and the thing is that she's right, like there are various definitions of the different feminism, but from my experience, radical feminists believe, because a lot of them have this kind of radical feminist separatist utopia idea, they think that patriarchy is something inflicted on women, and without it, women would have constructed a utopia, right?
Yeah.
So that comes from the radical. So and the funny thing is that she's sort of right, because what was once radical is now mainstream. Like my father tells me there was a time that people like patriarchy theory or patriarchy false allegation was not universally accepted. Like it wasn't something that everybody was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like he lived in a time where it wasn't accepted as true. Yeah. Right? Now it is, but that was a radical notion. Right? So the idea that women are oppressed, that the difference between men and women's roles is due to social oppression by men, and it's completely arbitrary, is a radical feminist idea that
Yeah.
became a mainstream feminist idea. That's the other thing. This is what I've watched. Feminism just gets more extreme.
Yeah. And then they ask, why are all these girls wanting to transition? And it's because they've been promised this freaking, like, the existence as the golden boy, right? You are the golden child, and not from the Eddie Murphy movie where you get kidnapped. No, you're the golden child who gets, like, showered with all of this privilege and success just for existing, and you don't have to even really try, and because things are just handed to you because you're a man, right? And nobody will ever treat you badly because you're a man. And society is not misandrist; it's misogynistic, and that's why you don't want to be a girl. And they get these girls, right? And girls have really been driving the increase in all of this gender nonsense, right? Girls. Adolescent girls, right? Girls going through puberty. Show me a girl who's comfortable in her body as it's changing. You can't. You can't show me even one. Show me a girl who's negotiating the reality that she has boobs, and all boys, not just the ones that she likes, right? But all boys will be looking at them, right? You can't, and that she's going to be okay with that. She's not. She's going to feel like, oh, I'm really attractive when that gorgeous boy that I have a crush on is staring at my boobs. But when, this dumpy guy is also staring at my boobs, right? All of a sudden, no, show me a girl who is not going through some version of real discomfort around her changing body. And that's when they grab them. And that's when they offer them, particularly the ones who are most vulnerable, the ones who are socially vulnerable, the ones who are sexually vulnerable because maybe they're queer, right? Maybe they're lesbian, right? That's when they swoop in and say, well, actually, you're a boy. And you don't want to live in this misogynistic, homophobic society, do you? Right? And it's just like, I'm you could pass as a boy, and then nobody would be homophobic around you, even if you had a girlfriend, right? Because nobody would even know. And I'm just like, really, this is where we're at. And you have these boys now, and I think with the boys, with the girls, a lot of these girls are facing resistance from their parents, right? Or have been, maybe not as much now. But a lot of these boys, like Desmond is amazing and stuff, right? I think they're actually being created by parents who want a special child.
100%. There's actually, I was just talking to somebody about a study I wanted to see of like how many single mothers or parents where the mother is kind of like wants to make her child, and it's usually a boy, special by claiming that they are somehow gender divergent, and if those children have, like if they're on the spectrum, which I think if women are on birth control for long periods, that increases the likelihood of that. Plus the fact that they're likely mismatched with the man that they're making kids with, that they are more likely to engineer their children towards transgenderism, and that the school system and the media and everything else around them supports and backs that up. Yep.
Yeah,
and this is the thing that legitimately worries me. Because I'm looking at the stuff that's been going on with what's that show with that trans girl that it was like following as a reality show, and
the one where the mother, she was caught on tape or something saying, if you don't dilate, I'll do it for you.
I can't remember the name of the show, but like, 'cause I don't watch that stuff. But I mean, that's an example, right? They're like super famous because what? Because the boy's being raised as a girl. That's the whole thing. They're massive celebrities. So it's a
Well, and
really easy way for single moms or just moms to score a bunch of political points and use their children just
And
like they
make
did
money
back in the day
and
with
get
those
fame.
like those little child beauty pageant things. Think of it like
Yeah.
that, but way worse, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
and
think that there's
it's
something
like
to
that.
it. I honestly think there's something to it, and I think that it's becoming a fad. And I'm really, really worried that people are castrating themselves for nothing, and there's going to be a lot of self deletions, and I'm really worried about it. But I think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you can't listen to that tape of that mom saying, like, oh, she's being so difficult and she won't dilate. She's refusing to dilate because she just had a vaginoplasty, and you have to dilate constantly. Basically put a dildo up there constantly, not constantly, but like regularly, in order to prevent the wound from healing over. Okay? Like, the wound wants to heal, and you have to prevent the healing, and it's not comfortable. It's not necessarily a painless thing that you have to do. And she's like, and if she won't do it, if she refuses, I'll do it for her. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's rape.
yeah.
Holy fuck.
And you can't listen to that and say
it's something worse than that, I think, because you're taking like you castrated someone, and then you're, you know what? This is a bit of a diversion too. We should probably get back to the video.
And
but
you know
I did
what?
Get a super. I did get a super
This
chow.
woman is responsible for opening that Pandora's box. This woman we're looking at right here, right now.
Yep.
She's all she wants to do.
Anyway. Yeah.
All she wants. Well, she's part of it, Karen. She's part of promoting this bullshit. All she wants to do is absolve herself of guilt, like evade responsibility, which honestly, in my opinion, is one of the worst qualities about women in general. Is what I've seen is their complete lack of a desire to take responsibility.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I do have some thank yous. I did divert the funds, Telnar. It was a little awkward, but I did do it. And then we also got another $50 from ARD. That's all I'm going to say. So thank you, ARD. We now have 330 to go. 330. 330 to go to this sub goal. So once again, feedthebadger.com/support to get this sub goal done and get Brian a little extra dosh for all the wonderful work he does. Oh, and also, I mean, if you just want to send Brian a tip directly, the first line of the fundraiser has a link to his PayPal.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how it works. Yeah, it always has. You can go to the fundraiser, scroll down to and it says want to tip Brian, do so here, and that'll go take you directly to his PayPal if you just want to send him a little bit of appreciation without it having to go through my filthy mitts. All right, so there you go. There's some options. Feedthebadger.com/support. Okay, let's go.
All right, so I got a super chow from Richard Bier for $5, and he says the search for a prompt phrase that won't start a story time with Hannah could be a sport of Herculean difficulty. Getting Hannah sidetracked is all in good fun. Thank you, Richard. And let me see here. We'll get back to the video. See what else this person. Oh, I got another one. Richard Bier again with $5, and he says, "How much less of transitioning would there be without the government covering the costs of doing so?" Well, that's another thing too, but.
Yeah, no, $75,000 for the full deal, plus anything that you have to pay extra for the complications, because there's a high complication rate.
Yeah. If you believe the world is overpopulated, it is a good way to cut that down.
Yeah.
So, anyway, back to the video.
And to oppose it, it is primarily a liberal feminist rather than a radfem position to give any credence at all to gender lunacy. What I would say is that any actions, any campaigns, any struggles whose specific purpose is to make things better for women and girls are feminist campaigns, regardless of whether those engaged in that campaigning work call themselves feminists or whatever they call themselves.
Well, it's good to have the demarcation that you don't give a fuck about men or boys. I wish you'd be more clear about that to everyone. But whatever. The other thing is, it's interesting how there's this kind of split. So you got liberal feminists versus radical feminists, and they seem to be motivated by different things. Radical feminists seem to be motivated deeply by animus towards men. Let's be frank. Liberal feminists seem to be much more motivated by a desire for social piety. And what I mean by that is that feeling of serving or being submissive to something that it could be a religious thing. You know how women can be very religious and they engage in all kinds of activities that are self-denying in order to project or to feel that sense of submission towards a greater ideal. Right? I think that's what the liberal feminists are motivated by, piety, and they feel that feeling of piety when it comes to all of the various purse puppies that they have. It's a feeling of piety and a feeling of you call it the monolithic infant class. I think it's all basically like golden calf syndrome. They want something to feel pious towards, and I think that's what liberal feminism is about, which is why it's constantly in a search for new ways to feel pious and new monolithic infant classes. So maybe it's you know what it might be called, the baby Jesus syndrome.
Well, I think honestly, I think Munchausen syndrome by proxy is close enough. I'm going to a different kind of. I'm not talking about women who are turning their children into. No. What I'm saying is, when you feel like what is going to get you positive attention, right? Because women who make their kids, sick, deathly ill, right? They're doing it for the attention and the sympathy, right? So that they can be seen as the good mother who's caring for this poor sick child, right? And she works so hard and it takes so much out of her, and isn't she a wonderful mother for caring, I don't know how she does it, right? Okay, and it's this pathological need to be seen as a nurturer, right? That I think maybe even the devouring mother, right? That
that's not
Jordan
quite...
Peterson talks about, that leads liberal feminists, white liberal feminists, to be like, oh, well, black people don't know how to get down to the DMV, so we can't have voter ID laws.
Yeah, it's also piety. Because
it makes them look like they're nurturing, like they're literally bringing the entire world to their breast and
let me finish.
Letting it suckle.
Okay, the quality of being religious or reverent. It is not just the desire to protect something. It's the desire to revere something. And to feel like you are submitting to a social factor that is greater than yourself. And in the past, that was God. Now it's it's the LGBT, it's Muslim immigrants, it's black people. It's this white liberal woman's desire to revere, submit, express piety towards this thing that she regards as morally greater than herself. Right?
Yeah,
that's what
take the knee, and wash the feet of black people at that BLM protest.
That kind of reverence is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So you have the liberal feminists who are after that kind of not just nurturance, and in the positive way, it is just nurturance. It's just that you really shouldn't direct it against an adult. A bunch of adults who have adults have different needs than infants. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's not good, but it's this reverence, this nurturance. And again, adults have different needs because adults need to be recognized in our system as having moral culpability. Otherwise they don't function well. All right. They destroy their own lives. All right. So it doesn't work. But anyway, it's just the nurturance and it's the reverence and the piety. And those are the instincts that the liberal feminists are expressing. The radical feminists, on the other hand, seem to
it's just pure hate.
just pure hate.
Yeah,
It's just pure
I prefer
unadulterated
that.
hate.
At least it's a wolf cloaked in wolf's clothing.
Yeah, like this is just pure hate. Like they just fucking they are driven by absolute hatred. Now, I mean, the thing is that the liberal feminists, you know, you could say, well, the radical feminists are honest, but the liberal feminists are less evil. So, you know, it's half dozen of one, 6 dozen of the other.
No, it's like, oh my god. It's like it's hard to pick between the two, right? Like which I dislike more. Like I hate the naked, like just the plainly spoken hatred and disregard, animus towards men and boys, right? That comes from these radical feminists, you know, like the Rad Fem Hub little snippets there, you know, I wish I could toss this little future rapist out the fucking glass window or whatever, right? You know, she's like a childcare provider and she's talking about an 8-year-old boy. And, you know, because she just like can't see anything good in him. And then, you know, like that kind of animus, that's awful. And it's evil, right? But the
liberal feminists do a lot more damage overall.
Yeah, the intentions. Oh my god, the road to hell.
Yes. However, like I actually like, as much as I can actually sympathize more with liberal feminists because, you know, women do have instincts towards service towards others.
Yes.
That's why religions exist. That's why they have the power that they do. Let's be 100%. Christianity wouldn't exist without the wealthy Roman widows putting their shoulder behind making it more prevalent, and other women who were converts, because religions really seem to have a genesis in women's desire for something morally greater than themselves to submit. Piety, reverence, this kind of stuff. And I think that is a big part of human women get a lot of their resources. Unlike chimps, female chimps who just, you know, need a tree and they need to defend the tree, human women's resources are actually their social groups. So this desire to submit to a morally higher group is, I think, a reflection of women's relationship to resources. So they're saying, well, I'm going to submit to this group. That means I get access to the resources of this group. I have a right. This is my key, and we're all going to submit to this group. This is the way that we frame what we do. This is what tribe A does. This is the resources tribe A exploits. These are the gods that we worship. These are the fabrics that we make. And we do this because this is where our resources come from. And we submit to these social conventions, and we express this piety and reverence towards our ancestors and the gods and whatever else. It's about creating that social cohesion, thus having access to the resources represented by that group. That's the instinct, you know, and it's understandable. Like, it's sympathetic. You know, you understand why women do this. There is a lot of cognitive dissonance going on with liberal feminists. But on the other hand, then you have the radical feminists. And they aren't motivated by anything positive. I can guarantee the reason why radical feminists hate trans women is because they see them as men and they hate men. That's as simple as that. They are 100% driven by absolute hatred. And you know what's really funny is that people think it's hatred of men. No, it's hatred of themselves projected onto men. That's what a scapegoat is. It really has nothing to do with men at all. These women hate themselves. They absolutely are in complete loathing with every aspect of femininity. The desire for piety, the desire to have children, desire to take care of children, the desire even to be subordinate in some ways to men when it comes to certain things that men do better than women. All of this, they hate. They hate themselves, and they project it onto men because it's easier to hate men overtly than it is to just deal with your own shit. And like I said, the only reason why radical feminists are now jumping away from their entire structure, and the whole thing about it's all social, it's arbitrary, gives them license to hate men even more deeply, to say that the things that they hate about themselves are actually inflicted upon them by men. So that justifies the hatred of men. That's why they perpetuated this whole notion that all of this stuff wasn't biological. It was purely social. It's arbitrary, inflicted upon them by men. Because it's their entire belief structure that allows them to hate men freely for something they hate about themselves. Okay?
Well,
and just let me finish and then you can get in there. Okay, so this is their structure. And now they're jumping back away from it because they've realized that in making this all arbitrary, they have destroyed the distinction between men and women, the biological distinction between men and women. And now they're seeing the filthy men, the filthy men start to go through the now permeable barrier into what they considered a sacrosanct space. And it's just like, these people should never have been anywhere near academic legitimacy.
Yeah, or social influence.
But you guys did that. You put them in there, and now we're seeing the results. Okay, go, Karen.
Well, you look at, like if it was a biological difference, right? Then men. Okay, so men are evil, and they hate women, and they treat women badly, and they oppress them. Okay, and so if you take that reasoning even further, right? Well, men could make the choice to be good because there's nothing stopping them, right? There's nothing stopping them. So that makes them even more evil. Like because men have the choice, right, to oppress. And feminists have been telling men, stop oppressing us for a long time. And if men haven't changed their ways, because they could on a whim, they could change every aspect of their behavior and become completely benign, right? Completely benign and never hurt anyone and all of that. They could do that if they wanted to, but they haven't, and they aren't. And so, it's like, that makes them even more evil. If it's not rooted in biological causes and biological differences between men and women, right? Then the oppression is by choice, right?
Yep.
They're choosing to do that. And, well, who would choose to oppress someone, and who would choose to continue to do that when they've been told you're hurting me, right? Who would choose to continue to hurt you, right? Oh, someone who's evil, right? Someone who can't be good. And so it's like, it's like the whole radfem narrative is so anti-male, right? It's not pro-female at all.
No,
but
that's what I'm getting at. The liberal feminist narrative could be seen as pro-female and at least in some ways pro-social, as badly aspected as their intentions are. I don't know how to say it, but
as bad as the results of their intentions. Like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, okay, let's assume they have good intentions, or some of them, most of them, maybe even, right? They might have good intentions, or their actions and decisions are motivated by, at the root, by positive instincts, right? Instincts that would normally in another environment play out in a positive way, right? But these radfems set up an environment in which you're looking at it's not an environment in which liberal feminists' intentions can play out in a positive way. They can't, right? I mean, I think that this has just been a compounding thing, right? So you had the radfems, and then you had the liberal feminists growing out of that, and then the liberal feminists basically were tricked by the radfems into believing in the feminist narrative that women are oppressed and men are oppressors, and everything is arbitrarily socially imposed, and nothing is really biological, and all of that. Nothing that matters anyway, other than reproduction, is anything but it's all social.
Despite the liberal feminists being 100% driven by a set of female instincts, no, nothing is biological.
Yeah, and it's just like it's like I said. Have you ever thought maybe that the reason why women are more afraid to walk alone at night than men are is not because they're more likely to be victimized, but maybe because they're just biologically more prone to negative emotions like apprehension and anxiety.
Well, there's a couple things that occurred to me with this piety thing, this piety and reverence. It's almost like human beings, because we are so social, have transmuted what would have been incredibly violent territorial aggression between female animals. Because, female animals get very territorial when it comes to their resources and the resources they need to raise their offspring. We seem to have transmuted that into this kind of piety and reverence. So instead of women overtly being violent towards each other over resources, which would not be very, very beneficial for a well-functioning society, instead they express piety. And like this is more of a soft confrontation between women over resources. So it's a combination of expressing your right to those resources, and maybe even through a greater act of piety and reverence, getting more access to those resources, but also expressing submission to the source of those resources, so that you put your social power as a woman to the recognition of the importance and legitimacy of whatever you're getting your resources from. Does that make sense? And I think that, and then that becomes an incredibly powerful thing. Like it's an instinct that needs an outlet. And but that just occurred to me, so I wanted to put it out there for people to chew over as a thought.
Yeah.
And and again, it seems like it's more pro-social on the liberal and liberal feminist end, and which is why we get movies like, I know Brian's gonna hate this, like Barbie. Barbie could have been so much worse, honestly. I'm pretty sure that lesbian feminist or radical separatists thought that movie was horrible bullshit. And the reason why was because, despite it being sort of a feminist screed in a lot of ways, it still recognized that men wanted to help women.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still, that was how women manipulated men, through their desire to help them. So it still had that, it did not present men as subjugating, it didn't present the Kens as subjugating the Barbies through violence and rape.
Yeah.
If that had been radical feminist, or even just at this point, just the mainstream sci-fi feminist dystopia, that's what it would have been. Like the Kens would have just come home, all the Barbies would have been ball gags with bleeding from whip stripes and naked.
It would have been the gore novels.
You would have been the gore novels, okay, and not in a sexy way. if you find gore novels sexy, which I haven't read them, but I assume they do.
I've heard about them. I haven't read them either, but I've heard about them, and they do seem to be basically a radical feminist project.
Yeah, but also apparently something that they schlick to. So there you go.
Yeah, well, that's why
that shit going on in that side of the pond.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of freaking fucked up shit going on over there.
Yeah, so. But maybe we should watch a bit more, since we're like an hour and a half in, and I feel.
And I will have to get off at around 3.
Okay.
I have a man to cook for.
All right, I got a super chow.
All right, go ahead.
Actually, I think this is the newest super chow. So Teflon Soul gives us $150. Thank you, Teflon Soul. Very nice.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, very nice.
Are you not entertained?
And he says, "Happy New Year's to the Badgers. Happy New Year, my man or woman."
Happy. No, it's Who is this? Teflon. Yeah, that's oh, man.
Teflon. Yeah.
Was that meant for the fundraiser?
I don't know. Like, if you guys are you want seriously for whatever reason you want to send something through Super Chow, but you really want me to apply it to the fundraiser, just tell me and I'll do so. By the way, I do have some thank yous as well.
Okay.
So I want to give a thank you to the Great Indoors for $50. Thank you.
Thank you, Great Indoors. I'm gonna give you some reros. Okay.
And also, Silver Bullet gives us $10, so thank you, Silver Bullet. All right, guys, we're pretty close here. So $270 left. $270. I know you guys are good for it. It's gonna be. I'm almost certain it'll be done by the end of the day. But
awesome.
You can always do it now, and then you get a thank you. So once again, help us out. feedthebadger.com/support. And I mean, if you really want to send a message and support at the same time, I mean, you can technically do both by putting a support option and a Super Chow option in your basket. Or I suppose you could just tell me in your message, because I can't infer what you want me to do, and it does take a little bit of elbow grease to redirect the funds. So, feedthebadger.com/support if you want to put some dosh in the hat now for Brian's bonus, and feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send us a message. And also, if you just want to send stuff to Brian directly, there's also a link to his PayPal at the fundraiser. There's always been, by the way, for the last year. Okay. All right. Let's go.
So I got one more super chat. This is just a super chat from Senor Sticks, and he says feminism is provable in countries outside the West for $2. Thank you, Senor
Provable?
Sticks. Yeah, he says feminism is provable in countries outside. I don't know what that means. Like whether it exists in the countries outside the West, not necessarily that it's useful. I don't know though. Well, Senior Sticks, you can clarify. I think he's been watching us long enough to know.
It's not. It's like the idea of a sexually segregated society, or like basically strict gender roles, right? That's definitely provable outside the West. But I don't think
the causal relationship between men in power or men and women oppressed is not established anywhere on the earth.
Yeah, no, like I can show you like a bunch of privileges that women enjoy in. I mean, you remember when we were watching that? It was like a video where there was like this rural African family, and they were all sitting around, and it was about how the women had it so hard and everything, and so they're sitting around the man got to sit on a bucket, and the woman and the kids sat on the ground, right? Around the cook fire or whatever, and she had to slave over cooking this meal, right? And you said, I think we paused it, and you said what I was going to say, Brian, which was, look at that guy. He's covered in mud. Right? Yeah. Like the kids are clean, the wife is clean, everybody's clean, the guy is covered in mud.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay, so
he gets the bucket, but
he gets the bucket.
Yeah, they're probably giving him something because his job is disgusting and difficult. So, but here's the other thing.
And backbreaking, yeah.
Here's the other thing. He probably is also responsible for their protection, and it's easier to get up from a bucket quickly.
Yeah.
It's in order to meet any threat. Here's another thing that feminists often don't realize, especially about cultures where men go first. Those cultures usually are in situations where they existed in environments that are more dangerous than our own, right? So the man goes first the same way as the point man in a unit, an army unit goes first, because he's
recon,
he's gonna have all the shit on him.
Yeah.
It's the reason why the tank goes first in an RPG. All the shit's going to accrue to him, and that will allow the woman and the family to escape, or allow him to meet the threat. So either they can escape, or maybe, I don't know, grab weapons and help out. Who knows? But he's going to be the tank. Like, literally throughout the world, before we had an incredibly safe society, in many ways thanks to Christianity, this was an essential service that men did for their families and their communities. They absorbed the flack, right?
Yeah.
They went first.
Yeah, no, and men eat first, right? Well, why did they eat first?
Usually,
because if the man starves, the rest of the family starves.
Yes,
that's just how it goes. And because he is the resource for the family. He is the resources for the family. And then my sister, she's in the military. She's in she was in delivery of administration of medical services, right? And she told me, well, when in Afghanistan, right, when the family's sick and they come to the clinic, right, the man is treated first. And I was like, why do you think that would be? She thought about it. She's like, okay, because if he dies, the whole family dies.
yes. And those cultures where men eat first, or they go first, or they sit on the bucket, usually the men are responsible for the protection of their family, and the environment is significantly more dangerous than our own, or they're responsible for the back-breaking labor that keeps the family fed.
Yeah.
Right? So they're being fed the way that you feed your plow horse first, okay?
Yeah.
And the feminists tromp in with their big damn boots and say, no, you gotta look like us. You gotta arrange your family like we do.
Yeah.
Because
and your
white
whole
people are
society.
best.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be frank. Because white people are
conservatives
best.
do too, right?
And that is sarcasm for anybody who wants to.
Let's be fair, right? Conservatives do it too. They'll be like, "Oh, they treat their women so bad." It really is like that cartoon. Brian could probably find it.
I have a rant just for you guys and you, Karen. I have a rant along those lines. But I do have some thank yous to give. I see that I've been trolled. Richard Bier gives us $265, which is exactly $5 not at the amount, because it was 270. Well, I just we gotta shout out to the excellent trolling.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
So we now have $5 to finish that off. $5. I'm sure somebody will put in that last $5. But anyway, thank you all. I'm pretty sure it's done. I doubt that you're gonna.
This could be another troll. I did get a super chow.
Okay.
In a way, because it didn't go to the fundraiser from Quantum Cat 76, and they say give us $100. Thank you, Quantum Cat. And says, Happy New Year, Badgers. This one is for the monthly fundraiser. So
okay, well, that
here, you get this alien. That is Martian for thank you. Pretty sure
okay.
that's Martian for thank you.
I have a rant about...
Don't run. We are your friends.
Do not run. We are your friends.
As they're shooting them. Okay, I'm diverted. I diverted it. Okay, don't Okay, so it should be showing up. So we're funded. Yay!
Woo!
Woohoo!
Yay!
Okay, all right. So thank you all for that, and I guess I'll close. Well, I'll let it run. See what else we get. So if you do still want to help out, feedthebadger.com/support. Very much appreciated. If you want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right. Here's my rant.
I got another super chat from Senior Sticks again. He says for $2, feminist, outside the West could be proven?
Well, feminism outside the West?
He said
feminist.
feminist outside the West could be proven. What does that
Well,
mean?
okay.
I have no idea.
I think gynocentrism is what he's getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay.
because every society is somewhat gynocentric. So
Yeah.
it's like,
for sure.
like if you want to see a gynocentric society, you know, go watch Last of the Mohicans.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right?
I got a super chow. And again,
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if this was meant to be for.
Yeah, no, if
fundraiser.
that did go through the support. So we
Oh,
are now
I see.
over.
Cool.
Yeah, we got,
Thank you.
yes. But
This is
continue.
from Tobin, and he gives us 50 and then 5 and says, I'm going to hang out with the Void. It might be lonely next year. What's the Void?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
the
Ergo
the
Proxy
Void.
gives us
Wait,
$5
you rich-
super chow and says,
Yeah.
and $5 support and says, can I get my Nick Cage sound, please? Would end the year nicely. Okay, here you go.
You also missed the Richard Beer one.
Wait, there was another one?
Yeah, right above the Ergopoxy.
I don't see it.
You don't see it?
No, let me look in here. I see it in, okay, I see it I see it in the Discord, but I don't see it in my Social Stream Ninja, which is what I use to display the comments. For some reason it didn't show up, but I see it. Richard Bier gives us 5 and says, how bad of shape do those men in Afghanistan get into before they seek medical treatment?
Agreed.
Yep.
They would have to be extremely a bad way before they would even, like, this is the whole thing with the play through the pain and all of that stuff, right? That idea of rub a little dirt in it and just get on with it, just like pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get on with it, is because you have people depending on you and you can't afford to. And I think, honestly, this is why one reason why the man cold actually is not a myth. Men, like, the whole joke is that men are big babies when they get sick, right?
The man flu.
Yeah, the man flu, the man cold, all of that, right? They're just big babies, right? No, there have been studies saying that is actually a phenomenon. Men actually get sicker. They get harsher symptoms when they're sick. And so I think part of that is that when you're sick and you're playing a man's role, you're a caveman or whatever, you're a tribesman or whatever, right? And you're sick, you're under the weather. You can't afford to just like stretch out your illness for a couple of weeks. You can't afford to be sick for a couple of weeks because you got a whole family and a community depending on you for protection and provision and all of that, right? And 90% of the symptoms that you get with any infection are your immune system fighting the infection, right? So if you get a high fever, that's your immune system causing that fever. If you get sweats and chills, that's your immune system causing that, right? And it's there to fight the infection. And that's why I don't tend to take cold medications, right? Like symptom reducers, right? Symptom relievers. I don't take those when I get sick unless I absolutely have to, unless they keep me from sleeping or being able to like walk or whatever, right? But basically it truncates the course of the illness. The more severe the symptoms you have, the more laid up you are, right? The shorter the duration of the infection, and the sooner you are able to get back on your feet. And so I think that this, and if you actually go out when you're feeling really under the weather, and go try to do your job because you have to, because everybody's going to starve if you don't, right? You're more likely to get hurt or killed or whatever, right? So it's like, I think it's this thing with the immediacy of male existence in those earlier times where, you could be killed, you could end up dying, you could, lose your footing on a hunting trail, on a game trail, and slide down a mountainside and die. Right? You, like, all of those things could happen if you have to go out when you're feeling sick. So your sickness is going to be compressed into a shorter amount of time. Whereas with women, I think that because they have a more gentle existence, a more sedate existence within the safety of the community, in the center of the village, basically being protected by men, that they don't have to recover as quickly, and therefore their illness doesn't, but they do still have to be on duty to look after kids, because kids are 24/7. They never freaking let up. And so they have to be at least functional, right? A woman can't afford to lay in bed for 4 days, right? Completely useless. Because chances are her husband is sick and he needs to be fed some soup or something like that, right? So I think that this is all biologically geared towards based on the roles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if he's not ready to go in a week to go back out there, she's not going to have any soup to give to anybody else, right? Including herself. And
Okay.
yeah. So, but it's like you have this idea that it's like it's the roles. Okay, the biology has informed the roles, and the roles have informed the biology over millennia, over millions of years. And the idea that, like, none of that exists, right? And that just, or it could be undone in a couple of generations. Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and that's what they did. Like, women like this, radical feminists, because they wanted even more grounds to hate men, asserted that men engaged in oppression, like the situation for women wasn't as a result of biology, but because men wanted to oppress women. And when you put biology into the equation, then no, men don't oppress women. Women just have biological limitations that men then that then become men's obligations. Okay? And that's how it works around the world with everybody, including the Middle East, including places outside the West. And this woman is completely wrong. She's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And she constructed the problem because they wanted to say it wasn't biology, it was oppression, it's social, it's arbitrary. It's something men inflicted on women because even though it's not biology, men are somehow bad. And you got that all into everywhere. You got it all into the academia. You got it informing government policy. You got it informing police interventions to domestic violence. You got it literally everywhere. And then now you are facing unintended consequences of what you promoted, and you're screaming about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and I wanted to get into my little rant that I had, but I do have to thank Be Bad Sad because he put through another $100 for the fundraiser. So thank you, Be Bad Sad.
Thank you, Be Bad Sad. Oh, here, hold on.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Oh.
Okay.
That's feminist math.
Yeah, that's feminist math. My rant is this, because you were talking about how conservatives also say the same thing. Yeah, conservatives will say, and this is most conservatives, and this actually, I think that politics now, I called it the Church of Women Worsting like in 2018 or 2017. And I said that everybody is a part of the Church of Women Worsting in politics, period. And the dividing line between people in the Church of Women Worsting, there might be a better way of putting it. It's almost like the politics of the single woman. But anyway, moving on. The dividing line, the actual dividing political line, is not left or right, or Democrat or Republican, or anything or anything. It actually is, if you agree with the statement, everywhere that feminism isn't is a hellhole where men oppress women. Okay? If you believe, and I think that Senior Sticks might actually be saying this, that he believes this, if you believe that everywhere that feminism isn't, it's a hellhole of men oppressing women, then you are feminist. And you are part of the Church of Women Worsting. This is the line. This is the real political line. And most conservatives would agree with that. They'll say that, like Karen was saying. They'll say everywhere that feminism isn't, women live in a hell of oppression by men. Which, when you actually look at it, is not true, because women in almost every area that allegedly oppresses them, if they turned into men, would die 3 times more often. Is that oppression? Like, you can look throughout history and you say, well, if the slaves turned into the slave owners, they would die 3... No.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to say that. And, you know, like, I actually went and I looked up the statistics for deaths, age expectancy, life expectancy in the Middle East, right? You know, in the most shithole countries, right? You know, like Syria, like the ones that are war torn and, you know, developing and all of that, but like full of like civil war and proxy wars and all of this other stuff, right? And I looked it up, and I found that the more shithole the country, the bigger the life expectancy gap was favoring women. And it's like, ooh, Syria, you know, this was like several years back. I was like, ooh, Syria, the biggest shithole of all, right? Oh, the biggest life expectancy gap, right? The lowest life expectancy for both sexes, right? But the biggest gap between the sexes. So the more horrible a place is, the bigger the life expectancy gap is going to be, because men are literally treated shittier than women. They are the ones who have to actually defend the women and the children.
And it's not a situation where you can blame men, like the men sending the men to war. Well, I'm afraid that I don't think men in Syria are responsible for the political decisions of the West.
Yeah.
You know, I think actually Russian women and American women are far more likely to have influence over what's happening in Syria than Syrian men.
Yeah.
Okay? So no, you can't blame the men. And a lot of wars throughout human history, I'm not exactly sure war was completely optional. Because I think in a lot of environments, the only way a civilization could survive at all would be through raiding another civilization. Because it seems like, unfortunately, human beings are very resource intensive. And it may be that societies require the resources of more than one society to survive. So societies there has to be some societies that die so others survive. And men are the ones that mediate that. Men are the ones who are sacrificed in all of that. So it's not a situation where men are sending men to war. It's a situation in which societies need someone to be expended in order to survive, and that someone will be men. And it is unfair in the extreme to blame that on men. Okay?
Yeah, well, and a lot of the demand for the resources has to do with women's demands. You know, like,
yes,
it's like
100%.
Yeah, no. Why are we poaching doctors from Nigeria and South Africa, right?
Because
to
Western women want to have a degree but don't want to practice.
Yeah,
and
well,
then the other thing is,
or they want to take 10 years out of their practice to like have babies.
Let's look at Viking society, or like the society. I mean, Viking was more of an a verb than it was an actual society. But
yes.
All right, why did they go out and plunder? Because they were competing with other men for the interests of women, and because it was a polygynous society, multiple women could go to one man if he was a particularly good plunderer. All right. And then, and if you weren't a good plunderer, you got no woman. That pushed Norse men into being Vikings in order to become attractive to women. And you see this over and over and over again in history. And it's not necessarily blaming women, it's just recognizing their side in the dynamic. So no, there is no place on earth where feminism, it's wrong to say. And once you believe that feminism is the arbiter of moral good, you're part of that political landscape, period. How could you not be? You are part of the Church of Feminism.
Yeah.
And most conservatives are part of the Church of Feminism, which is really interesting because if you actually look at the politics as they're shaking out, and I think it's becoming more and more obvious, the Democrats or the liberals or whatever you want to call it, a better term would be the party of single women, right? Mm-hmm. They're the party of single women, okay? And they have constructed a platform that basically gives single women, in particular single liberal women, a way of indulging their instincts. Now, there are also married liberal women who are part of all of this, who I think are a lot more gimlet-eyed, shall we say. They know what side their bread is buttered on. They're a lot less ideological, maybe a lot less driven by the same things as like this kind of strangely distorted altruism that I think the single liberal feminists are. But regardless, it's the party of single women. And what they're doing is they have constructed a way of indulging these single women's instincts. If they weren't single women, their desire to take care of a helpless class of people, well, who would they be taking care of? Children, right? That's instead the Democratic or the party of single women gives them this kind of this almost like an outward facing heroic narrative that they are the ones saving the black people, the Muslims, the LGBTQ people. Well, they're the party of the single women. They're indulging their instincts on a public sphere. They're making their instincts seem grand and heroic as opposed to intimate and quiet and familial. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's like you got a bunch of childless women who need an outlet for their mothering instincts.
Yeah, and they're nurturing. And that's what they do. They create, like you were saying, Karen, the monolithic infant class. I'm telling you, I'm like, what I am saying is how the Democrats always seem to end up winning. Right? This is why. And what I mean by that is they set the tone. It doesn't matter if occasionally a Republican candidate, they're still setting the direction of society. Everything keeps going where they want it. Have you noticed that? Everything, and then the conservatives, the latest monolithic infant class, the conservatives will be, they'll start, oh my God, I can't believe, what was it 10 years ago? The Muslim immigrants, right? Remember that? The black people, I can't believe, and they'll keep, but then there'll be a new one. They'll forget about the old one. There'll be a new monolithic infant class. Yeah. But the point is that this is the essential politics that are happening now. Single women have become the primary political driver of the West. Maybe not in Europe, because they still get married and generally have children, but they're of the West. They are the primary political driver. Okay, and the party of single women gives them outlets for all of their instincts in a heroic narrative that they're going to save the LGBTQ people, they're going to save the Muslims, they're going to save the black people, right? And also they get to express reverence and piety and take a knee to something that they feel is morally greater than themselves.
And be admired for it.
Every single instinct that women used to direct towards their families and their communities, the party of single women is giving them a bigger political stage to play them out. That's why, that's why they've attracted so much interest. And then they also give them freedom not from men, from children.
Yeah.
It's literally the party of single women. And they give them a grand narrative about how men are horrible and a very terrible, terrible, terrible investment. So because they want to keep their power base, they want more single women.
Yeah.
So they've constructed this gigantic narrative, not just that men are terrible investment as husbands. Like they just, they're just going to take and take and take and give nothing. And you're just going to...
An emotional labor.
Yeah, not just that. They've also constructed this entire narrative that men are not just poor investments, but they're in active war against women. Which, what does that do? That creates more single women for the party of single women. And what is the big thing, the big narrative that men are terrible for women? Well, everywhere feminism isn't, everywhere the party of single women isn't, women are horribly oppressed by men. And what do conservatives do? Oh, yeah, you're so right. You're so absolutely 100% right.
Those men over there are so bad.
Conservatives, far from being an alternative to the party of single women, they're its vanguard almost. Well, they're the ones who are saying, well, everywhere where we aren't, or the party of single women isn't, is a horrible hellhole for women. So they're actually confirming. They're the opposition, the controlled opposition that confirms the truth of the party of single women. So they're just slitting their own throats with this narrative. And everything political comes down to that. Are you creating more single women? Are you justifying the creation of more single women for the party of single women? If you are, by promoting this idea that men are horribly oppressive, are the worst thing a woman can do is bring a man into her life. Is that not what the message is? Well, if you're embracing that message, then you, my friend, are a proselytizer of the party of single women. And that includes all, and the funny thing is that the conservative response to this, and I don't mean fiscally conservative, I mean socially conservative, supposedly, the conservative response to this, to the party of single women, explicitly playing this game, and this is what's actually sort of pathetic about it. Conservatives think they're playing checkers when they're actually playing 5D gender dynamical chess with the party of single women. And their response to that is, in the face of all of the refined rhetoric to create more single women, their response is, men are to blame.
Yes.
Which only reinforces the party of single women more.
Yeah.
So once again, everything is the party of single women now. Okay? The only thing outside the party of single women is everybody who says, yeah, I don't think that men would construct a society for their own benefit at the expense of their wives and daughters and sisters and mothers. I don't think that, and that hasn't been proven. It hasn't even been stated as a conjecture, clearly stated as a conjecture that can be falsified, right? It hasn't been proven. It hasn't been proven in the West, and it hasn't been proven in the East. It hasn't been proven anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you actually can grasp that, if you can accept that, and it is not an issue of belief. Literally, it hasn't been proven. It hasn't been proven. Okay? If you can accept that fact, that manifest fact about reality, then you finally have exited the party of single women. But everybody who can't is still in it. And they're either constructing the means to make more single women, they're enforcing the idea that the party of single women is just, and really the only place that women can be, or they're providing a controlled opposition that only serves to enhance and empower the party of single women. There you go. Okay, that's where we're at. There you go. Long rant.
All right.
What do you think, Karen? Did you like that rant?
It makes a lot of sense. It really does. But I gotta go. It's after 3. And
all right.
And my dog she's like losing her mind.
I would like to get back to my dog as well. Brian, you've gotten really quiet. What's up?
Well, you were ranting, so I didn't want to talk over anybody.
Oh yeah, no, he knows to keep quiet when you're ranting.
We didn't get very far into this woman's bullshit, but I'm
We get
guessing
some more of
Really?
it later in the month. It's a good. There's a lot in here to unpack.
Oh,
She defines what anti-feminism is, which is basically not serving women.
oh,
So we'll yeah, I think this is worth going through.
Yeah, but she's not wrong, but is it that bad? Like, why do women have to constantly be fucking served? Can't they serve themselves? You know, can't
Yeah.
they serve others? Can't they be conceived
Well,
of as having an
of course
effect
she
on other
frames it
people?
as bad.
Like, I don't
Yeah, of
understand
course
what
she
that's.
does.
You know that the word hero is basically means servant, right? So when you
do you
say
know
that-
that the word? Do you know that the word boy means servant?
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ!
Yeah, she doesn't care.
Okay. All right. We have a special clip. Looking community zone or show topic suggestions for a special clip.
I got
dedicated
it.
to-
Is it
Yeah.
seems to be an audio file. So I it's like a minute and some change long.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if
Yeah, I think Karen. Oh, well,
Karen's
this
gotta
might
go.
be-
Okay, I'll listen. I'll listen. If it's a minute and
All
some
right,
odd
all right.
seconds.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay.
Let me try to open it in a tab over where this is at so that you guys can hear it, because if I play it in the Discord, you're not going to hear it. Oh, so it's not gonna. Let me just open the folder. Let me just drag it into. Maybe if I drag it into a tab, it'll play. You guys don't make this easy. You know that, right?
She who must be obeyed, Karen Strawn.
You know, every time I hear a feminist open her mouth, I feel like I'm living in upside down land. Lifting shit and carrying shit and lugging shit and hauling shit. Jesus fuck. We go and we buy stuff and then we put it near the dog kennel. We just dump them there and we just take turns and everybody's fine with that. I go on a hunt every freaking day for a clean shirt, clean socks, clean underpants. My jeans are too short and there's a hole wearing in the crotch, and Christmas is coming. Why is rape in particular off limits? That resembles prison rape. You know how I know? Because I don't do emotional labor. I can't joke about a woman who's held down for like 20 minutes and dicked against her will. Decorate your own fucking cupcake. What the fuck is wrong with you? Fuck off!
If any of you are lining up to just say what I just said, fuck off.
Yes, I am here, and I must be obeyed.
All right, there you go.
Oh God,
there
that was
goes our
brilliant.
copyright on this one.
Oh God, I'm gonna send this not to my mother because she doesn't like the F word, but probably to my kids.
Yeah. That's almost as good as tapas, the other one.
All right, thank you, whoever that put that together. That was brilliant, and I loved it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So,
All right.
well, there's no particular. I'm pretty sure that we're going to get copyright strike for that. Not strike, but just a copyright claim. Yeah. I don't think the feminists are going to let that one
Well,
go.
I mean, we don't
Shoot everyone.
monetize anything anyways, so.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, no, we don't. Not on this channel. And really, we don't get much monetarily in terms of ad revenue at all. Like they tried to kill us with that, but we were too clever for them because we never collected it. But anyway, so if you do want to support the show, at this point we're done on our fundraiser. But you can still send us, you can still send us funds to the fundraiser too at feedthebadger.com/support. But what I mean by we're done is we hit our goal. And, or you can send us a message at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's the best way to send us a message because we get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. And you get the full benefit of not having to tap dance your way through YouTube's comment enhancement system. Yay! Yeah. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Tell us we're not screaming into the void. Tell us what you think of what we had to say. I believe we did get a super chow.
I did. I was going to read it before we close it out. I just want to let you say what you were going to say first. So, got a super chow from Zeranx for $10. And he says, given what Allison has said / is saying, I think it's been highlighted why chivalry has been muted towards going the way of the dodo. I find it interesting that both Peter Wright and Rollo both started touching on chivalry and what it really was and meant. When the weak and helpless become solely the realm of women, the infirm, the elderly, and children will take a back seat. Women and children first, right? Not children who'd grow up to aid the elderly as adults, but grown human females before young males and females and the elderly who've had their time. Maybe I'm way off, but that's what occurred to me.
Thank you for the super that,
chow. What?
No, it's not women and children first. And it's still not really, it definitely it's women before men, but I think that's sort of the way it's always been as far as I can tell. If it's not gynocentrism, then you'll have to explain what it is that in every culture around the world, men are more likely to die. Okay, and men live shorter lives. And it's not just biological, men are quote unquote physically weaker. I don't think that's what it is. It's that men are always in the roles that are more dangerous, more demanding, in order to protect and provide for their families, right? And maybe it is just the family, but definitely women, in the end of the day, benefit from that. Okay, but the other thing that I wanted to mention was, I don't think that it's really necessarily changed. It's the direction, what is being directed at. So women are still expressing this kind of piety and service towards groups, not necessarily a religion like Christianity or like the iconography of religion, but towards groups like Black Lives Matter, like Islamic groups or Muslim immigrants, towards the LGBTQ. It's not that women are necessarily being put first, but that their desire for piety and expressing piety towards a group and expressing nurturance towards a group is still being put first, except those groups have changed. They're no longer children. They're these political groups. So, and because it is the party of single women. So it's not, single women don't express this stuff towards children. They express it towards political groups and a grand political narrative. This is something new. Like, I think that this is the first time I've expressed it in quite this way. So just chew on that and think about it. I have never heard of anybody talk about this like this. So that politics has really come down to single women and what they want and how they're expressing their interests or their instincts and who they're expressing them to. And I think that the problem with looking to other societies in which the focus is more on the family or in many cases the religion, okay? Like in Christianity, the focus is on the religious belief more for women than the family necessarily. I think when you look at that, you're looking at women who are their desire for piety and reverence is keeping the society from becoming too gynocentric. If you get what I mean. Do you get what I mean, Brian? Like, they are expressing a desire to express virtue, but in the Christian system you express virtue through self-discipline. And they're expressing piety. They're expressing piety through Christian iconography, for example, and they're expressing subservience to that. And they're also expressing nurturance to their own children, or even to the baby Jesus, right? So this is how their instincts are captured to the service of perpetuating a society.
Yeah.
And when you point to those other societies where this is happening and saying, well, gynocentrism doesn't exist there, I don't think that's the correct. I think what's happening is it's being controlled. It's in a better balance because women's piety and women's desire for reverence and desire to nurture something is being used in a beneficial way. Right now, it's being used to create intersectionality, which we'll see. Is that a system that's going to work long term? Probably not, because it doesn't really encourage pair bonding. And if a society doesn't breed, it's not long for this world.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I'm saying is that those societies that you point to and say, well, gynocentrism wasn't in there. Well, gynocentrism was balanced by other instincts. Like women were encouraging socialization within a framework that, they put that the expression of those instincts was a lot more functional. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is helping. Guys, if you're interested in that, you can, having more comments again, you can send one through feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very helpful. Hopefully what I've said is enlightening, or at least a launching off point for other people's thoughts. I heard you say there, Brian. Did you want to add something?
No. I want to talk. I could talk about it a little bit. But
yeah, sure, go ahead.
But I got to do an after show and I got to pick up Lindsay.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
So
right.
I can't just, I mean, my Patreon show is going to be short because I got to leave at 6 and it's already 5:14.
Okay. Okay.
I hope you guys are okay with that because our Rantzerker went a little over. What was that?
You can expand upon your thoughts during the patron show.
Yeah, I could.
If you want to join him, feedthebadger.com/subscribe.
Yes, I'm gonna be, because I didn't have a specific topic in mind. I thought I just called it the final patron show of 2023, and we'll just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And but yeah, that's what we're gonna do like right after this is over. So
okay, well,
and I'll probably be in the Nerdcast voice chat. That usually has like more accessibility to people, so it's at a lower level than the rant after show because Karen's not here and I'm not worth as much. So you can go into the Nerdcast after show where I will be in like a few minutes. But okay, is there any final words or should I just wrap it up there?
Thank you all for getting us through this month's fundraiser. Very much appreciated. Yeah, end of the year and through the year. Thank you for supporting us. I believe Brian will be putting on a call-in show tomorrow because we made it today. Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, am I not doing anything tomorrow?
Well, call-in show, I think, is what.
Am I doing a call-in show tomorrow?
Yes, unless you don't want to.
Well, I mean, I don't. I mean, New Year's isn't like Christmas. People do stuff on New Year's tonight, not tomorrow. Tomorrow, everybody's recovering.
True. Well, we'll figure it out.
All right,
so
well,
anyway,
whatever works.
Maybe a call-in show. Maybe no call-in show.
Yeah, maybe I'll
tomorrow.
do a call-in show.
Yeah. You can always send a super chow if you want to see a call-in show tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Tell us we're not screaming into the void. And yeah, again, thank you so much to everybody and have a really great New Year's. You guys deserve it because I know this stuff isn't easy. It's not easy to support because it's some crazy shit. Like the Party of Single Women, what's that? Don't we know that everything should revolve around women? Otherwise, we're insane. Okay, thanks again for your support. feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send us a message. And I just did that by instinct, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. There's a link to the video that we were responding to in the description. Thanks, guys, so much for your help this year and on this show, and like just for hanging in there while we were, doing this work for like the last year. And I know I'm eternally optimistic, but I have high hopes for 2024, and I hope that you do too. Because I do think things are going to get better. but there will be some pain first. So that's what I believe. But what were you gonna say to that?
It's been 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. Yeah, well, it's been over because I started for me anyway. I started.
Well, no, it's been 10 years for all of us. Like I started in August 2013.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I started in August, so it's been 10 plus, little over a couple months.
Yeah, for me, I think you probably started in 2014 or 15.
You think? No. I think if I look back to 2013, I think I was doing stuff. But well, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's been about 10 years at least.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you for 10 years. Thank you for this year.
Yeah.
Thank you for this month, and I hope that we can continue to do this work with you guys as our supporters.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks guys for coming on the show. Please share this video, and I'll see you all in the patron show very shortly. Happy New Year if I don't see you before 2024. See you next year, guys.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.